What the heck is a quad lock?
Watch this to find out.
Whether you're in the car, on the bike, on the water, in the air, your phone is an important tool. Keep it secure with Quad Lock.
2 years running, broadcast have missed Percat taking advantage of the overcut and called him a backmarker.
What a slap to the face.
He actually saw Chaz come past him on the warm-up lap and he thought, well, Chaz is always pretty quick. I'll tag on the back of him for a tow.
Oh, he got stuck.
And Chaz was dog shit.
Oh no! He's in the fence! The boat's in the fence! They're all in the fence! Oh, unbelievable!
All right, sound check. What episode we got here, mate? 51.
Sound check. Cheers, mate. It is 51.
Wow. It's big. Oh, you fizzed these up again on me.
I didn't do it.
What have you been doing, mate?
Actually, you didn't even clean that up the other day after the pod was frosty either.
It dried up, mate, naturally. Evaporation.
Yeah, right. Okay. Well, cheers, everyone. Welcome back to our podcast, episode 51. We are debriefing the Tasmania Supercars event. We had a great time today, didn't we, mates? We were doing our live stream. We do on YouTube sometimes just for something different.
Well, we always have a great time here at the Apex Hunter Bar, Scott.
Well, that's true. Company's a bit shit house sometimes, but
Well,
it's all right. But yeah, we did have a good day. We had a live stream going on YouTube today with all the fans that didn't want to listen to Crompo and Scafie and decided for some weird reason to listen to us instead. But it was a good race, mate. It was an unreal weekend. I think Saturday's races were pretty good. I like that there was no real correct strategy. I think car speed always wins the race, really. But the first race on Saturday, we saw a 4-tyre stop win. We saw a 3-tyre stop come second, a 2-tyre stop come third. The 2-tyre stop as well varied up and down the lane, whether it was rears, sides. The 3-tyre stop I thought was pretty good, but it was a good weekend, and I thought the Saturday was interesting. Sunday, though, I was curious to see how that would go because that's back to more a traditional style race with two stops, fuel covered both stops, which I thought was a bit shit. I would love to see them separate that, but it did not disappoint. It was probably one of the best finishes we've seen in a long time in the race.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think, to your point on car speed, very true, which we saw with Brock. Brock had obviously the fastest car speed all weekend. And, in the last race, Matty got up on him with a strategy call that Groves nailed. So good on them for that. But he definitely was, and Brock said in the press conference then, he was in another league of his own really this weekend for car speed. So, it would have been interesting. Like, I think even if Brock did a 2-tyre strategy, I think he still would have won that race in the first one anyway.
There's no substitute for that much car speed.
Yeah, he was just absolutely spanking them. But it was good racing. I enjoyed it. I thought the weekend was good. The last race, I agree with you. I think I would like to see them mix it up where they do 1 tyre, stop 1 fuel or something. I agree. Like having the fuel cover the tyres takes a bit of the pressure off, I guess. And I'd like to just see him go hammer and tong on tyres only and then do fuel only or whatever.
And in the first races on Saturday, we saw people make mistakes trying to do a fast 2-tyre stop. And I think it was MSR cross-threaded a rear right wheel nut. Yep. Things happen. When you're trying to go fast, you're asking a lot of the components and you start to rush. You don't start the thread before you nip it up. And on Sunday, when the fuel covers it, you see how slow they change the wheels. It really isn't – the pit stop is not an element anymore. It's just get the fuel in and change tyres all the time in the world. And I think that as car – I think in motorsport, everything should be a performance part.
Yeah,
and it's like
make a difference.
100%. Every little bit we do should make a difference to the outcome. And I just think when you see mechanics really cautiously change a wheel, it looks boring, for one. It's like, why are we even doing it then? Especially when at the end they went 48 laps. So it's like they've made the compulsory 2-stop for a reason. It's to make it a bit more exciting, and stops do that. They change up the order. But if you're going to do that, don't let fuel cover it because it makes the stop, which is meant to make it more exciting, just boring. It's not exciting at all.
Did you see on Saturday's race, I think it was race 12, the second race on Saturday, Macaulay's crew did an awesome job and they did a 2. But the camera stayed with it and the boys were fist pumping and high, like they were, like you want to see that stuff. Like when they nail it, you want to see them like up and about, and when they fumble it, you want to see them like throw the helmet on the ground or whatever. So
exactly. And that's the thing too, isn't it? With when you cover the stop with the fuel, you actually don't see the boys up and about when they do a really good, boys and girls. So there's some girls in the lanes. Yeah. I think Tickford's got a female wheel changer there, but you don't see them really pumped up and celebrating the fact that they just nailed it when their back was against the wall or something like that.
Well, you also don't know because they do the stop and then all of a sudden they're waiting. On juice, when you do the stop, as soon as it drops and they're gone, they jump the car that was in front of them or whatever, and you can physically see that, you're like, how bloody good. So
Yeah.
I think, they probably need to try and do something to
Spice that up a little bit.
Yeah, and that's why NASCAR, like their stops are fairly entertaining because of that too. It's all around the tyres.
Yeah.
More so than the fuel. They'll just put as much as is in there for the tyre stop.
Yeah, they just cover it to be safe. We are, if you're wondering, we're live streaming this podcast tonight as well, still for our Patreon members. So we live streamed the race this afternoon for everyone on YouTube. And then if you wanted to, you could jump over to our Patreon and continue the live stream where we are doing our debrief. But Bush Mechanic Mayhem has put in there, are we saying that supercars should bring in WEC-style rules, like not letting them change tyres when they're refueling?
No, I'm not saying not letting them, but I'm saying there should be a stop that maybe there's no fuel involved.
Okay, so I'm saying yes. So a bit different on that then.
Okay, well, yeah.
I'm saying like if you're doing 2 stops today, you should not fuel and tyres at the same time.
Right.
It should always be like a tyre stop is high risk. There's time on that. And as fast as you get them across the line at the end of their tyre stop, you can start filling.
Yeah.
I don't think the minimum stop time and stuff they do in GT racing is really a bit dull.
Yeah, that's the only thing I don't like.
But I think splitting them.
Yeah, split them. But I think, I don't like if they come in, they fuel, and then once fuel's done, then they jack them up and then do tyres because the stop's so long, it kind of gets a bit, I know, I like them short and sharp. So,
but then you've also got the risk of going down a lap. So it really
somewhere like Tassie, you would go down for sure.
Yeah.
In a 50-second lap.
Yeah. And maybe you've only got to refuel in one of the stops then at a place like Tassie because the track's short. But Bathurst, that's a real consideration then because you don't want to go a lap down. One of the biggest things is trying to stay on the lead lap all day. I'm not sure. I don't know what the fix is, but I do think separating it would be cool because I actually think one of the coolest things is watching mechanics change tyres. I think they do an amazing job. And usually when their back's against the wall, you'll see guys that can handle the pressure and ones that can't. Like that's their time to shine.
And that's all I'm saying is just, exactly that. Let them have their time in the spotlight to make a difference to the result. Whether that means you have to wait or whether they have to come back in later for fuel, I don't know. I don't really care either way.
Yep.
I just want to see either the fuel guy on the churn nail it or the people that are doing the tyre stop nail it and get the credit for doing a great job.
And that's been, honestly, I think that's a real common sentiment up and down all the comment sections we see is, and we've got Ole X in here as well, saying that the fuel churn is real positive.
Yeah, I like it.
That's one of the best changes they've made in a long time. But before we go too deep into the podcast, because we've just come off the back of the race and I think I'm still pumped from it, so I'm excited to get into breaking it all down. But if you haven't already, please subscribe. It is important that you give us a cheeky thumbs up if you can, like the video, subscribe, tell all your friends about it, tell them how good we are. Even if you don't think it, like we said, episode 1, we're like, if you don't like it, that's okay. Just give us a thumbs up so that we can tell people, guess that it's a great podcast. We might be able to just trick them into coming on and creating good content for you.
Fake it till you make it, brother.
Exactly. But yeah, if you do actually like it, we'd love you to subscribe. If you want to jump on our Patreon, subscribe to that as well so you can be part of the conversation like some of our good friends in here on the podcast tonight.
Yeah.
But it's been a good weekend to be home, mate. I think this weekend's been a bit different because we've both been racing. I was at Taupo racing, then you were at Bathurst away. And so this has been our first real opportunity to sit down and sidecast with all the fans, which has been great. And I did see too, someone headed over to Tasmania and used our East Coast Car Rentals discount, the AHU 15. So that was...
Did see that? That was
great.
That
was very good. And for all of the partners we see on our podcast too, it's those supporters really are just, they love what we're trying to do for the fans because there's, well, one, it obviously allows us to just be 2 dickheads at a bar and chat motorsport, but also they realise too, they're all fans of the sport and they saw there's not really many podcasts out there like, there's none like ours in our sport, and that's why they support us to try and help us do more content. So we're going to get over to the plan is to get to Sonoma and create some NASCAR content, which is, of course, thanks to these partners. Everyone you see on the podcast, if you can, go to the link in the description of this video, check them out, Shaw & Partners Financial Services.
Well, Shaw & Partners too, as we found, if you haven't heard the show
we dropped it
with Steve and Earl, but Sonoma, just going on that because we're getting excited about that. Shaw & Partners, that's where they got the opportunity to buy into 888.
It was, yeah.
Because
that was a really cool
they're
story.
actually going to run their own team. So if you haven't checked that out and you're new to us at Apex Hunters here, dive back in, check that out because there's actually there's some cool little stories in there.
And even it was funny the other day. You might have seen on our socials, I clipped us calling that we reckon Shaw & Partners are sponsoring Jack Perkins in a NASCAR later in the year in the Xfinity Series.
Do you reckon we've got that right, or do we go early?
It was Well, we've definitely gone early.
I haven't asked Jack.
It was funny because when I posted it, I actually sent it straight to Earl from Shore and Partners, and he was like, "Fucking hell, you blokes!" Like just laughing. So I don't know. He wouldn't confirm or deny, but we've called it. He did say they just transferred some money to do that. So I think we're likely to see Will Brown will do another Xfinity race. That
Xfinity though, because he's done Cup.
True, he has. Yeah, maybe he'll do Cup.
Maybe he's trophy hunting. You reckon?
Either way, he's going back to the States, trophy hunting. He wants to do a last and go back and embarrass everyone. Yeah. But Will Brown is going back to the US for sure. Xfinity or NASCAR, I don't know. I didn't think about that. You're right, he did do NASCAR, so maybe. And the next one is Jack Perkins. I know as well, Brock Feeney has a huge interest in going. So whether he can put the budget together or not.
Anyone with a helmet's got a huge interest in going. Hey, Stephen Earl, I'd love to go too, guys, if you want to help us out. But I actually hope Jack does get to do it, because I know he's been trying to do it for a long time, I think.
Yeah.
And it would be a nice little, I'm sure, for anyone, tick in the box to go and say you've raced in a NASCAR, whether it be Xfinity or Cup. Huge. It
would be huge. So we've called it early, but we're very confident, and we've actually we pretty much announced it. We've said that we genuinely believe, from everyone we spoke to, the odds are Jack's going to do an Xfinity race.
Yeah.
So yes. Anyway, back to it. It is a huge privilege to do the podcast. If you can support our partners, Trico products as well, if you're in the market for wiper blades.
You said it the other day, mate. It's starting to rain here in Melbourne. Make sure you got a fresh set of Tricos on.
I did see it's like the driest start to a year we've had.
Just way to burn me on that.
I'm like, I can't believe it. I was like, God damn, we're trying to sell wiper blades here.
Yeah, that's right.
Please rain for us. Yeah. And in Lancaster Motor Group, if you're not in the market to rent a car, through our friends at East Coast Car Owners, you want to buy one, Lancaster Motor Group, they're genuinely like real big supporters of the show and what we're trying to do here for everyone that listens. So
great guys.
They're all people that are really involved in what we do. And Quadlock as well, been a supporter of mine personally, sponsored the team, they sponsored the podcast. And I am in the process next week. I'm actually adding the phone cases to our website.
Finally, we get the...
I can announce...
AHU cases. So if you haven't got one yet, because these are the only two, apart from actually Scott, Shannon and I have one. There's three on the market. So
if you want a case, they're going to be on our website. So we are doing Quadlock cases with the Apex Hunters logo on them. I'm trying to work out how the hell you add a drop-down link for Shopify. But that's pretty exciting. So it'll be you do the order, I'll pass it back to them. I think it's around 4 weeks, the lead time. So I want to say that at the beginning, so you're not expecting like a 2-day turnaround for your phone case, but they are made to order. So I will share the link on our socials and once that's done. But if you want to check out any of the products or the brands that we mention,
and thanks,
go ahead and do that.
We have had a lot of comments saying, when are they dropping, when are they dropping? I know you guys have been patient, you've been waiting, you've been holding out buying just a standard one because you want to support us. So we appreciate that. Scotty's got that done. So yeah. It'll happen real soon, which is awesome. 2
weeks, mate. We also give away the Ambrose.
There you go.
Ambrose artwork, thanks to Zed Motorsport memorabilia. He's actually just a supporter for the fans. He gives us literally just every month we get product there. You can go through to their website, check out everything he's got there. I'll need to check out the details, but if you mention or put in the code, if you mention on the website when you do your purchase order that you mention Apex Hunters United. You also get a voucher, I believe, but I'll find the details out on that. But if you want, check out Zed Motorsport memorabilia. They got a bunch of different stuff. But in 2 weeks, we're giving away the Ambrose memorabilia. We've just sent off the last piece as well. So anyway,
it's the show that keeps on giving, mate.
It is. It's about trying to give back to the fans. Anyway, we're just appreciate the support we get, and also the fans that listen to us every week. Hopefully I haven't made anyone's ears bleed yet. I mean, you nearly blew my fucking eardrums out today when there was a crash on the track.
Look, I got excited, mate.
Trevor Marmalade behind the bar loves a bit of motorsport, loves a bit of car racing.
I'm just a guy that loves a bit of car racing and just enjoys it with his mate at a bar.
Our pre-brief, I don't reckon we were too far off on some of our calls.
We were close, but we didn't quite nail it. We weren't out of the
In terms of results, probably Pinot where.
I think we had a fair idea.
The results were hard. I mean, I did not expect. I didn't expect Brock to be as fast as he was all weekend. I thought they would bounce back, but I did say to you, I think I didn't expect them to have dominance like they've had in the past at Tassie.
Yeah, it was weird with Triple Eight because it sort of felt like Brock had the standard Triple Eight dominance there, but Will didn't. It seemed like there was Brock was definitely on another level to the number one car,
miles ahead,
which was strange because normally they're within a bee's dick of each other. We were pretty close because I sort of had said I reckon Golding was going to get a win. He didn't get a win, but he was up there. He was fast, and so was Richie. So that was great to see. And also I said Andre, but it was actually interesting at BJR because it was Fullwood and Macaulay that were actually and Jackson that were sort of the top performers for BJR, running in the top 10 over the weekend, where Andre sort of was a bit. You would expect him being the lead driver to have been the guy grabbing a trophy. Obviously, Bryce in the Shaw car, Shaw, a partner of mine, and the show as well. That was awesome to see them get
Apex Hunters on the door sill, which is very good. And Will Brown, I was a fucking sticker, mate. You T-boned our car and damaged the door sill, which is right where the Apex Hunters was. I know. So I don't appreciate that, bud.
No, but
you're right. Macaulay Jones, shout out to him because,
fifth.
Fullwood 2 years in a row has had a podium there.
Yep.
And Macaulay actually led his first supercar race on the weekend legitimately too. Like the crew did an amazing job in the pit stop.
He was leading
to put him out in the lead. But he qualified well, and I think you said he finished fifth.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I mean, shout out to those guys because it's really competitive. Jackson Evans did a good job all weekend. He was pretty consistent. I think that Macaulay and Fullwood on the Saturday really punched above their weight. Sunday they dropped back a little bit. But, Saturday their cars are very quick, and I was definitely surprised that Andre was the fourth quickest BJR car on the weekend. I did not see that coming.
Yeah, and that's sort of what I was sort of alluding to. Like, to me, it sort of seemed like if you had never watched a supercar race, you'd think Andre was not the number one guy.
Yeah.
Which he clearly normally is. But it was nice to see some new faces in the top 10 and top 5. And as I said, Bryce back on the podium, Macca, awesome job. I'm actually looking. Obviously, they announced the Toyota thing, which we announced 6 weeks ago, probably.
I found a spy photo of Brad Jones sitting in a Toyota Camry without missing a leg. He's grown a leg back,
correct,
and signed the contract with Toyota. But yeah, that was good. They announced that though on the weekend. It's finally out there and done. Like you said, I mean, it's funny. There's been people wonder, and I'm sure we're not saying we're necessarily the first to know, but when we get told things, we can tell you straight away because we're not a media outlet. We're literally two peanuts at a bar having a beer, and we know a lot of the people up and down the lane. So we get told things, and we just go, well, we pass it on, and it doesn't have to be. We're not under embargo. We don't, and we're not saying like we're taking a piss. I've been in like a trolling weekend, having a good time, laughing about all these things that we've broke, and it's just because.
Well, I said to you at Bathurst, mate, we were just assuming, right? Yeah. Like it was pie in the sky assuming stuff like, I reckon this will happen. Yeah. Because that's what we do at a bar. You're talking a bit of smack. But it wasn't until I was at Bathurst and someone actually said to me, remember I text you?
Yeah, you're like...
And I was like, I actually think we're right because I've just been told something by someone that was at Bathurst at the 6-hour weekend. I was like, oh, okay. I reckon I've just read between the lines on that.
Yeah, and even the GM thing, I know there were some speculative stories out there, but it was funny. I was at the airport before Taupo and had someone come up to me and say that, they're working with the team and this has been confirmed and Team 18 is the GM team. And it was like a passing comment. I asked a question. Oh, yeah, no, it's done. Like, they're going to announce it soon. And so I was like, okay, fair enough. Put it on Apex Hunters. Well, this is done then. And that person I know was truthful because he was working with them. And, but yeah, so we're having a bit of fun with it. But we, of course, really just want to, if we hear something, we want to pass it on as...
Well, we're not owned by anyone.
We just pass it on. And, the thing is, it's at the tip of my fingers, the phone, so we just pop it on and fuck, it's been funny though. Some of the feedback we get, but
and I think we've actually forced some people into going early, and that's ruffled.
Oh, that's what makes me laugh.
But that's ruffled some feathers because some people that are held to these things, are feeling the pressure and going early, and then they're actually going to burn bridges and
yeah. And I'm very anti-mainstream media. Like I don't think, I think things got to change. I think the podcasts. Being independent means you don't have agendas. We don't have anyone that's telling us what we can and can't say. Our sponsors sponsored us after we'd be doing episodes because they just love how, they think it's funny. They're also fans of the sport, so they want us to be able to keep creating the stuff that they can then keep enjoying. Whereas a lot of the other places are towing a line or they're saying things or they're actually not writing stories. And that's probably the one thing that pissed me off is when people don't write a story that's worthy of... Yeah. And that happens a lot. It's not just one person that does that. Everyone is doing that. So I think more independent stuff out there is better. I think as well, I'm trying to push that broadcast, when they redo deals, they have less ownership rights on the vision so that people that compete within the sport, because we had this chat today. If you get charged, it's like KO, right? Like pay the subscription to watch it. We should be able to repurpose that after the fact, after it's been used, to create content around it, especially if you're a competitor. It's paying an entry fee, you're paying for the products, you're creating the content for them. They just publish it. Once the weekend's over, I think a lot of that stuff, there should be more accessibility for competitors particularly to use content because it's fucking hard to find sponsorship.
Yeah.
So open up some of the rights. When you do the next deal, actually include the competitors in that deal so that they get access to some of the vision. So I'm genuinely trying to force the hand of these people to change the way mainstream media is done at the moment, free up, release the leash a little bit and let everyone create content about the sport that we like without being shot down. And I think it's only in the long term going to help the sport, bring more eyeballs to it, because certainly after the fact, we are not taking away live viewers from Fox Sports by repurposing some of the vision and using it on social media.
It's going to have their watermark on it anyway. It's still pumping up their brand. And I showed it to you the other day. The NASCAR app's great because you can go in, click your favourite car, and at the end of the race, they'll have like stories, like 15-second stories on the car from in-car that you can then share, repurpose, do what you want to do. Like Supercars should be doing that.
Definitely.
Like how many people on a Monday would share someone's first lap on board if it was like a carnage or a great move or something?
Yep.
And it would go, how many more eyeballs? It'd go gangbusters for everyone. Like, stuff like that, just great.
I don't particularly know how we got to this, but obviously we've already live streamed for 2 hours and now we're really on a tangent.
But we said we were going to go loose and fast tonight.
But while we're on it, I mean, NASCAR actually ran... what's his name? Cletus McFarlane in the ARCA series. Yeah. And they live streamed to their YouTube.
Did you see how many extra viewers they got?
30,000 subscribers they gained in the day.
Yep.
And it's quite innovative. I think it's really good what they're doing there. And broadcast is, even for their midweek shows and things, unless you happen to be sitting in front of the TV at that time or you happen to see the one Instagram post that promotes it, you're going to miss the show. So I think it's important to do more stuff outside of network TV and promote the sport, because at the moment broadcast is very closed off. Like it's not, the 5 or 6 people that do that show are not doing anything beyond that to help the sport either. Like they literally just do their
secret squirrel stuff. Unless it's
they
on
just
platform.
Do broadcast. They do their piece to camera there, and then now we won't hear from Garth Tander again until Darwin for the next event, which is in 4 weeks. So it's wild. Like that's why I think more shows like ours should definitely pop up, because it'll change. Other sports are definitely starting to change. We're seeing it all the time. And
it's interesting too. A few guys in support land have jumped on it, and good on them. They've started to create shows and stuff because they see, there's a lack of shows around support categories and things and what they're doing. And I mean, that's why we started this, for change and to see what can be done. It's great. So
yeah, it's pretty tricky out there to raise money, and I think we've got a good product with what's on TV, and especially with the sport categories being on those platforms, there should be more access for those drivers to create content. I mean, you can't even take a content creator with you to a race and film the on track.
At some events you can't. Yeah,
a fan can stand in the hill with their phone, film it, and post it on Instagram. But if I was to do that, we get in trouble for.
And we're creating content for them for
breach of media rights.
Yeah,
like, it is ridiculous. And then. Anyway, you know what? Let's move on.
Should we dive into the?
We should get into the event. We've segued here.
Before we do, you brought up a great point earlier.
That's rare.
I know, so I thought I'd mention it. But also, yourself and Shane through our Apex Hunters with Foster, we always chat. And interesting that Supercars have still got the old school mentality around the championship, and they're not talking about the top 10 and the bubble and the finals, because we were saying, like, it's just crazy that, one, they don't have anything on the telecast. They should be showing who's in from 13th to 8th if they're close, who could potentially, and a live switcheroo on if someone then jumps into the 10, well, they're now in the 10 and they're potentially going to make finals. Like, that should be something that we're always watching as, interest for the fans. And whether it's just on the LED panel, their number changes to a different colour if they're in the bubble, if they're within the 10. Yeah. Like, there can be some simple things to follow along at home to go, oh, shit, he's just jumped in the 10. He's now in the finals. Yes, my favourite driver's now potentially going to make it. They're not talking about that. Like, exactly. Like you said, mate, it's a great point too, and I think, and Shane touched on it too, why Tickford then let Cam past Randall yesterday when Randall was 7th or 8th in the championship? They should have been making Thomas get the best position he can, because he's actually on the bubble where Cam's up the road. Yeah. Like, they're still thinking regular championship season mentality when it's all different this year. And to me, I don't know. We said it doesn't make any sense, does it? So they need to try and do something to promote that, because that's actually important. As fans, we need to know who's actually going to be in, who's going to be out.
Yeah. Even after the race, did we see an interview with who was 11th and 10th?
They should be more important than who finishes 4th, 5th, 3rd, whatever.
Dude, 100%. And I don't know. Can you bring up the championship results at the moment, the standings?
Yep.
And we can talk about that. But it's definitely something that the last couple of days has frustrated me watching the broadcast, because even this morning, Jess Yates interviewed Will Brown and was asking him about the championship. It doesn't fucking matter.
No.
So he dropped to 3rd. It only hurts your ego really at this point in the championship, because it's not about who wins at the end of the sprint championship. It's who makes the final 4 and then gets the job done in Adelaide. And that's what we should be pushing. So I think right now we definitely need to be talking about who's on the bubble, and that's exciting. I think during the race, not once did they bring up a graphic that said if the race finishes and the results we're looking at right now, this is who's going to be promoted into the top 10. And then after the race, they put up the graphics of the top 10 in the championship and never actually even showed 11th down. So I didn't even know when I turned the TV off who was on the bubble. So there's definitely a missed opportunity, because at the end of last year they promoted and talked about this championship final series and how important it was going to be in changing the narrative of the sport, keeping interest up until the final round. But right now, no one, like AFL, they're not really talking about who's on the top of the ladder. They're talking about who's going to make the final 8 to then go through to the finals.
And there's 4 people, mate, that are outside the 10 that are within 60 points of the 10 at the moment.
And that's the first time I've heard that.
So you've got Nick Percat in 14th on a total points of 399. And then you've got Will Davison in 13th, who's on 404. James Golding is 415 in 12th. And then Ryan Wood is on 454 in 11th. And Anton...
No, that's not updated.
That's from race 12, sorry.
Yeah, you need to go 13, because 13.
I'm on that soft. They obviously haven't updated yet. Maybe there's penalties to come.
Yeah.
I've just had a look at that. So that's...
Yeah, they're not updated yet, Barbs.
313, sorry, guys.
But, I mean, it doesn't change the fact.
Still relevant to the fact that, okay, yep, not the last race in Tassie, but we should know what's going on with that stuff. Or they should be talking about it, because...
And especially because it's the first time we're doing this. So Rosie96 has actually popped in there as well. The points aren't updated, but she's checked the website as well, and they're not updated yet. There should be, when you go to their website right now, Sunday night, there should already be an article out about who is on the bubble.
Well, dude, we're what, like an hour after the race finished and we still don't know?
Well, it's not on NatSoft. It's not on their website.
I'm on that. That's why I went. So I thought it'd be up to date. Sorry, I didn't actually see it.
I thought it would have been too.
Yeah, we've only still got race 12. So... Even we can't give you that. But they would have that stuff. And then if there's penalties later, you just retract it, or you just say, oh, actually, this has changed. Yeah. It's another content piece. It's another story.
During the race, graphics, it's not a beat up, because there's been, we're talking about the low-hanging fruit, I think.
Stuff that could be
changed and generate some interest in the fans, just because we've been spectators all weekend, and this is some of the stuff that when we're texting each other in our chats, we're like, why is there not a super soft and soft icon on the timing pole? How hard is it to have something in the car or in the rims that when you fit a super soft, there's a chip that says, we have it in the race helmet when a co-driver gets in the car.
Correct.
So that when you cross the timing loop, they know it's a co-driver.
F1 do it.
It's not that fucking difficult.
No.
Because as a fan, they talked all weekend about the super soft and the soft, but we didn't actually know when someone went out in the lane, on the track, what tyre they were running unless we looked at the blue wall or the white wall.
Yeah.
And when it's that hard today to have an icon.
When it's spinning around 250k now, it's actually hard to see what colour it is.
Yeah.
Like exactly. You can't actually identify
100%.
it.
So there's just little stuff that, and they're doing so many things right. And I'm actually a huge fan of the final series. That's why I think it should be promoted more, because I love it. I reckon what they've done is amazing.
Spicy.
And even if we get to the end of the year and we go, okay, there's a few things that weren't right about it, adjust it, go into next year with an even more refined package. But I rate it. I think it's good. But icons on the screen, you got to add that so we know what tyre everyone's on. And that will happen when they do the super soft and soft races too, where you have a mixed compound in the same race.
Yep.
Because you don't want to hear the commentators constantly having to go, is he on the super soft or is he on the soft? Or then reiterating the fans like, he's on the soft, he's on the super soft.
Well, it also means they don't have to then go down the lane and ask Chad, what tyres they put on? Or Garth, what tyres they put on? Everyone knows what's going on.
There's nothing worse. Fuel churn's huge tick. The soft tyre this year, I think the racing is good on it.
I mean, the racing, I think, has been great all year. We really haven't had a snoozer yet.
No, we've had every race has been, and it doesn't matter whether it's been the super soft or the soft. I think it's been unreal. I do reckon we could experiment next with splitting the fuel and the tyres, only because I want to see the guys make mistakes in the pit lane, because that's awesome. That's like watching someone do a quali lap.
Yeah, or for the shorter races, like what we had on Saturday, just make them start with full fuel and it's only a tyre stop.
Yeah.
Like you don't need to do a fuel stop. Like just leave the churns in the garage.
Yeah, exactly. And Frosty has some great insight as well. When we drop that pod tomorrow, there'll be a few people that
really
I think will really learn a lot from that.
He mentioned some, actually, it's a belter of a pod.
He has a lot of...
some of the suggestions could be actioned tomorrow and would make so much interest and so much more fan engagement.
One of the ones which was huge was push to pass.
Let's not give it away.
Well, no, this will come out after that pod, mate, so...
Tune in.
Doesn't matter. Well, they will have already heard it.
Actually, it's coming out Tuesday.
Welcome to the show, Elliot.
Thank you. Make sure you listen to that Monday. They might not have time, Scott.
Yeah, but the push to pass one's actually pretty cool. But there's good stuff, and that's why I just wanted to preface it with, though, we are not shitting on it. There's just a few things that are very easy. The timing, I'm not sure what they do about that. Today, there was another issue with the timing at the circuit where timing went down. Sounded like a hardware issue, but it happened at Taupo as well. What is the backup plan? I mean, you lose power, generators kick in. What do we do for timing? There's got to be something, because that's a showstopper.
What we have 24 people with stopwatches, and they're just updating.
A lot of the remember, like you look back at the 60s and it'd be like all the wives or whatever on the thing with the board.
Or you had the clipboard with 2 or 3 or 4 stopwatches.
There'd be someone that ran the control tower. But there's got to be surely a contingency plan in place, like soon. This has happened twice now.
Well,
and it pushed the whole schedule back today. Like the shootout was delayed as well.
I actually don't. I need to go and have a read, but like in Darwin, we're using MyLaps.
Yeah, okay.
So is it changing providers half? I don't know, because an email came out to us like, "Hey, you're going to need a MyLap sync from Darwin on or something."
Yeah, I don't know.
So I don't know, man. But it shouldn't be something that is not accurate.
No,
and dropping
exactly. out. Well, let's go through some of the results, mate.
Let's do it, Scott.
Shall we go through? I'll let you take this one away, mate. Go for it. Go.
We're doing race 11 quali.
Go. Up to you, mate. You go for it.
I'm reading what's in front of me, champ. So that was a 2-part quali. So what they call that, format 2?
They did.
Yeah. So it was a format 2 quali, which if you haven't listened to our pre-brief, go back and listen to that one. So what we had was in the top 10, we had James Golding, James Courtney, Ryan Wood, Jackson Evans, which we notable mention, had some speed on the weekend, which was great. Bryce Fullwood, Brodie Kostecki, Will Brown, Cameron Waters, then Brock Feeney in second. Thomas Randall was first.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
So
I mean, to see him go back-to-back years as pole there.
Thomas came out swinging early on for speed, didn't he?
Yeah, he does a great job for a lap. I think he's got the toughest competitor as a teammate for a lap in Cam Waters, and he's not far behind. I mean, I'd like to see the numbers actually, the between them after this weekend in qualifying.
For quali, yeah, no, that'd be very interesting.
Because, I think Randall probably doesn't get the credit he deserves for a lap because Waters is so good. Like, it's not like being up against someone that's not great in quali. He's got what we think is the best. I actually think Brock Feeney's starting to be that guy who...
Yeah.
Brock and Waters are the 2 best qualifiers in the field.
Brock's starting to have that sort of thing like what Scotty Mack had when he was on that run of quali. Just been able to grab that 10th and a half when it matters.
So Randall, he's doing a really good job because he has a hard taskmaster and a teammate to be ahead of him, and he did it on the weekend. Yeah. So it's good to see him get a pole again.
I agree with that. Then we dive into the race, and I'll read you down to the sort of top.
Well, but before you do, I've said you can take this away, but
obviously I can't, Scott.
You've missed the mark here. Matty Payne's last, dude. Qualifying. Matt Payne, Di Pasquale and Matt Payne both were unreal at Taupo. Di Pasquale qualified in the front row, nearly had pole. He qualified 23rd. Matty Payne 24th.
Yeah. And
clearly woke up on the wrong side of the bed and forgot how to drive a race car.
Well, it does happen to the best of us. And also, if you're going down that route too, like Cam Hill was outside the 10. He was, second at Taupo?
Chaz Mostert, P19.
Chaz had a stinker of a weekend,
it's unreal.
didn't he?
So that's why I didn't mean to jump in. But the back end of the field was as interesting as the front.
No, it's a ripping point because look at the names that are out of the 10 there. There are some big names in big teams.
Well, Andre Heimgarten, if you want to, I don't know why I keep saying Humdinger. Andre, Richie Stanaway. Richie, I think, unfortunately, he's had a tough year, so he's probably been there or thereabouts. But Davo and, Brodie's not there in this one.
Yeah,
but we'll
he
get to
gets
it.
there, yeah.
But I thought DJR was going to be a shoo-in for top 5s, top 6 all weekend. I honestly thought they were going to be there.
I actually thought it was going to be Mustang Country. I thought,
We were nowhere on that.
Yeah. We got fed some bad info, you reckon?
We had some data on, well, not data, we had some info on the engine upgrades and things, and I was like,
They're going to smoke everyone.
I just
That's
thought they
what
were going to smoke everyone.
I thought they've been dealing with this deficit for so long. They got their chassis so tuned, and now they're going to get some power. They'll just smoke everyone, but it just didn't happen.
It didn't, yeah. And unless they're still at a deficit, or maybe because it was cold. So what they said was below 25 degrees.
Actually, that's a great point, mate.
It was so cold on the weekend. Below 25 degrees, they were saying that the Ford had more horsepower than the Chev. So that's where the Ford lost their power. Above 25, that's where the Ford gained its power back. So
I thought it was the opposite, dude.
No, so Melbourne Grand Prix, for instance, the engines ran around 40 degrees at airbox inlet temperature, it was about 40 degrees. They're actually 15 horsepower down. At that point, that's how far down they were on the Chevs, which is ridiculous. And that's, for more often than not, that's the temperature they run at, they reckon.
Yeah.
But I don't know what the temperature was at Tasmania, and I know the air temp's like 12. So maybe where they were strong compared to the Chev was below 25 degree inlet temperature. Maybe they took too much away from the Ford under that. And I don't know. I'd love to know what some of the inlet temperatures were on the weekend and whether or not the Ford had power taken away in an area that you go to Tasmania and it being colder.
You go to cool climate and it's no good.
Maybe it wasn't as good as they expected. I'm not sure. And that's just but for those wondering, it was a big thing. Like,
yeah, we thought they were going to go and hose everyone. That's what I thought.
And the Supercars article frustrated me a little bit because it sounded like they were sweeping under the carpet. I mean, it sounds like all of the AVL testing was
a waste of
time and a waste of money because it sounds like they were testing that all their numbers weren't right. But it's definitely just a weekend we expected the Ford to have been stronger based on some of the changes they make. Wasn't the case. Shows.
It's kind of like you were going and practicing kicking with your right foot and you ended up kicking with your left foot.
From what we were told.
That's kind of like an easy way of saying what it sounded like.
But yeah, maybe not the case. But we'll see. I think we need a few more. You need a few more events, obviously, to find out. But anyway, we predicted Fords to be strong, and Shell did not fire on all cylinders on the weekend, did they?
No, I thought. Yeah, I definitely thought Brody, especially, and Davo were going to be strong, and it just didn't fall the way that I thought was going to happen. Nor you, mate. Yeah. You want to dive into the race results?
You go for it, mate. I won't interrupt this time. You go.
Well, please do if you
just don't get it wrong, otherwise I have to.
So the race was good. Who did we have there? We had top 3 was the top 2 probably not unsuspected with Brock winning, Thomas second, but then Bryce Fullwood in third was a good job. Like, he was on the podium last year. He was representing Shaw, sponsor of mine, so that was cool. So nice for them to get a bit of fruit and get some silverware there. Cam Waters was 4th, Will Brown 5th. Will didn't really have a great weekend. We know we'll get to the last race later on. He was on the podium, but
in this one he had a slow wheel change.
Yeah, he just had
it was a pit stop drama prevented him because he was really quick in this race. He was actually right up the arse of Brock and looking for a good finish, but he did lose a bit of time there in the pit stop.
Yeah, so just looked like a bit of a frustrating weekend for Will. Ryan Wood. Then we had Jackson Evans, James Golding, James Courtney. That was a good turn of speed for BRT. They've been really struggling. Yeah. Like I know a 9th or a 10th. What was it? Struggling to see now. It was 9th.
9.
I know a 9th doesn't sound amazing, but like as we touched on in the show from New Zealand, they locked out the rear of the grid 5/10 off the row in front of them. Like they were nowhere. So
you don't even see that. Rarely do you see that.
And this is with one of the guys that's a previous champion, could still jump in a top car today and put it on pole. So that was a great job for them to turn that round. And then they had Richie in 10th. So that was also a little bit of fruit for Richie, who's had some shit results really, based on we all know how fast he is. He's just struggled to actually get some decent results out there. So that was a solid one for him as well.
Yeah, exactly. And then race 12, qualifying.
Talk me through it, Scott.
Well, I'll start with some of the honourable mentions, the surprises again. I mean, actually, sorry, before we do move on though, we should mention that race 1 on the weekend, DJR was disqualified.
They were.
With the skid plates under the front bar being what they deemed to be modified. So controlled part, obviously you're not allowed to touch those, and they believe that they had modified them. Larko did a piece on that.
Was it any good? I didn't see his piece.
It was okay. It was kind of non-committal though. It wasn't like they didn't totally slam them for being cheaters, so it doesn't sound like I would say that it sounds like it's negligible. The gain you get, I don't know how much.
I reckon it'd be bloody hard to measure.
Well, and they also sucked anyway. I mean, hate to be so blunt, but they were nowhere.
Yeah, if they'd gone out and smoked the first couple of rounds, no dramas. But
I did joke. I text Tom. I didn't get a reply on this one, but I actually text Tommy at DJR and said maybe you should just ask for the same penalty though as just get DQ'd as Scotty Mack. Remember he got DQ'd for the engine at Bathurst, but then kept the race result. It's like I feel like they were investigating prior to qualifying. Surely something could have been rectified before that. Then they went into the race and they DQ'd them from the race. It's like, I don't know. I mean, it's the way the penalty or how long it took to come to a resolution on that one, I'm not sure what happened there, why it took so long. Like I heard the hearing was even like nearly 2 hours long.
And I wonder, like,
surely it's either black and white. Like you've either modified something or you haven't. And then if there's an advantage gained, then you either have or you haven't. Like I don't really understand how that took so long.
Yeah, and just interesting enough, they just handpicked one team. If they went up and checked everyone's skid plates, like what were they doing? Like was it just a random? How'd it come about? It's a bit of a random thing just to go randomly check.
Well, they do that though. Like I remember, do you remember that year they randomly checked Brodie's door weight at Bathurst, and they did him for illegal doors? They will select something, but they also, I feel like it's maybe not so random.
That can't be random. Going, hey, go weigh his doors. When have you ever heard of that? Surely that's not random. Surely someone said, oi, mate, mate over here's got light doors.
I think what happened there was Brodie was showing up on weight and they're going,
how does the car make
How does he make the weight?
Yeah, okay.
So then they started to go, where could it be? And they started to weigh certain things. So, and maybe they've done that with the bars. Maybe they've thought or suspected something's been done. I have no idea. But that sounds like you don't just... Surely that's not just a random, like you say. There's got to be a gut.
To me, it sounds like either a tip-off or someone's searching for something.
Yeah, they're looking for something there.
But as you said, which is strange in a team that's really not overperforming.
Yeah.
So that's to me, a bit. Surely you'd be looking at other teams first, but anyway.
Love a good conspiracy theory, but DJR, I'm sure, are pushing the engine stuff with supercars, and I don't know that supercars be the biggest fans of someone criticising or pushing them or pushing the boundaries on trying to get more performance in the engine and holding them accountable. So they're probably out there with a bit of a, I don't know, maybe they're out there hunting for something to put them back in their box. Say, how about you fucking...
Don't come up against the big guys. Remember who runs the show.
Exactly. But anyway, they
running with it.
Had to mention that because they did get DQ'd, which is huge. We haven't seen that, both cars, since the 888 cars were DQ'd at Newcastle.
And that was controversial, wasn't it?
It was.
They had sign off on that. So yeah, anyway, it has been done before.
And then down the back in qualifying, there's more surprises really. With Brodie qualified 21st, Davo qualified last. A couple of times on the weekend he had traffic. He said on Sunday, I haven't actually done a qualifying lap this whole weekend. So he just had disasters in quali. I didn't see what happened to Richie, but I believe one of the cars had a slow leak. There's a lot of front left tyre leaks.
Right.
Happened to Woody. Woody luckily scraped through the top 10 and survived, but there were cars, I think even Mostert on his lap had a tyre going down. I don't know what the issue was, but it was, I don't know why it was happening, but around the valve, they were leaking.
Right.
Yeah. So that was happening up and down the lane, which is something that there's probably some cars that might have had issues there we're not aware of.
Who's your honourable mentions? Jack LeBrock in the 10?
Honourable mentions, yeah, in the 10. No, Macaulay Jones for me. I thought was a big...
That's a great job, 4th.
Yeah, I thought that was a great job. And Fullwood too. 4th and 5th are the two BJR cars there.
Yep.
And Jackson Evans. They have 3 cars out of BJR in the top 10. Is an amazing job. So honourable mention would be Macaulay Jones and BJR. Yep. That's for race 12, the second race on Sunday. And then, final race. 2 years running, broadcast have missed Percat taking advantage of the overcut and called him a backmarker.
Yeah.
Again.
They thought he was lap traffic.
Like...
What a slap to the face.
I know when we're live streaming, we get sidetracked chatting to comments or drinking a beer or trying to get an empty in the bin or pick a new one out the fridge.
Or just arguing, but yeah.
Or just arguing. But when your job is to watch the motor race and literally comment on what's in front of you.
When you're getting paid to do it. Yeah.
You're paid to just fucking pay attention, guys, okay? Like watch the gaps and see who's pitting and who's taking. And also, it even comes down to production. Like who is actually watching the race? Because we missed Percat come in for a 2-tyre stop and come out in the lead. Yeah. We were just following the lead battle with Macaulay Jones and they're going, oh my God. And then all of a sudden they're like, oh, there's lap traffic in the way with Percat. It took them 10 seconds to realise, hang on, Percat's he's leading this race. And then it's like, oh my God, what an amazing job. We've missed the pit stop. We didn't see him rejoin the track. We see him for the first time at the hairpin while he's defending for the lead of the race, and they called him a back marker. I'm like, and this, I reckon, still is where you cannot have two ex-drivers as your anchors. They're not broadcasters. They have no idea how to actually broadcast, how to commentate on sport.
Well, they're not watching.
They're not watching.
They're too busy talking.
They're busy talking to each other, and they're talking about the sport and, front lock and where he's going to position the car and everything like that. Whereas someone that doesn't know anything about the sport has to look at the numbers, has to follow the race and comment on what's right in front of them. And then you have an expert. Chuck a Crompo or a Scafie beside them. Be amazing. You got to get rid of, one's got to go. Like, one's got to change.
Someone has to be watching the monitor.
Something's got to change because it's ridiculous, man. And I actually felt bad for the crew at MSR because, like, they're in the lead of the race. They've nailed the pit stop.
Yeah.
We didn't even get to see it.
They've done a great job and it's just been completely missed.
And also the in our pre-brief, we're like, we didn't really know what the best strategy was going to be because we'd heard some were sold on the 4-tyre stop and then it was like 2 or 3, then it's right side or rears. That should have been such an exciting thing for broadcast to watch. Or anytime someone in the top 5 or 6 is coming in the lane, they should know that the overcut's powerful. They should know that Brock Feeney took 4. So if someone takes in 2 and they're within 3 or 4 seconds, wait for that person to come in. There should be someone like producing supercars that says, hey, Percat's within 5 seconds of the lead here. If he takes 2, this could be on. Let's watch his stop. And then you'd actually see the MSR crew celebrating going, fuck
but
yeah.
That's where they need the analyst is doing that role, not necessarily on camera or on the mic, actually
they're so
helping
far
them
away.
produce the show.
Yeah.
Hey guys, this is what you should be looking for.
Yeah. This was probably the furthest away I've seen broadcast and commentators all weekend for a long time. And we can all nitpick on the words they use and things, and sometimes it's funny, like, they repeat words and things, and that's fine. Like we all do.
You've got your sort of your cheat sheet, what you go to, yeah.
But on the weekend when you're completely missing the mark, I'm like, it was horrible. I thought the way they filmed it and also talked about it was miles off the mark. But
let's dive into the results.
Percat nailed it though. Second, Brock Feeney won, Percat second, Cameron Waters third. Randall was fourth. That was the race with the switch.
Third.
That was the race with the switch, which we've talked about, which was definitely strange. Macca in fifth, Golding sixth, Matty Payne 7, Jackson Evans, David Reynolds, LeBrock. Brown, we don't normally mention 11th, but Brown finished 11th in that one, and that was really one of those races that was just a bad qualifying. He had no speed.
Just hard, like you get stuck in the
Couldn't get
middle.
past
And
Chaz.
like, that's where you really appreciate how hard Supercars is when you get the champion from last year, have a shit qualifying, and they don't move forward. You understand how hard the racing is.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, they look no different to someone that's always there.
Yeah.
They don't look any better, they don't look any worse, but it shows how hard it is. You go, shit, if he can't make moves and can't get going.
Yeah.
And Tassie is notoriously hard to pass as it is and actually make up spots because of the nature of the circuit. We get that. But it still just highlights how good everyone is and how tough it is, I thought.
Exactly, yeah. Bush Mechanics thrown in there. Stuff it, do a Combox overhaul, slapping Chad Nailon and Larko and see how they go. I'll be honest, mate, I actually think, I don't think anyone within our lane should be chosen as the broadcaster. I think it should, and it's not saying they won't win it, but I reckon you got to go out and do an audition.
Do a casting, yeah.
Full casting. Everyone in Australia is eligible that's a registered broadcaster or whatever you'd call them. They come in and they audition like they do in F1. You have to actually do a calling.
Get a horse race guy. If you can make that shit exciting.
Dude, I heard Will Buxton had to do it for an oval race.
Yeah.
Before he actually got the gig with Fox, he had to go in and call an oval race at the end with Hinch and,
Right.
the other broadcast and the other ex-race driver there. I can't remember his name, sorry. But and he had to actually do a test, call an oval race. And I doubt there's been, it's such a closed shop. It's pretty much like who works for airtime gets the gigs is typically the way it goes, I think. Or whoever Crompo or Scaife will bear, we like that guy.
Whoever's not going to threaten them.
Put him in, we'll put him in. That's sort of how that show seems to work. But I reckon it goes out to tender and someone has to actually run a casting process. And then you select.
I reckon
your
1-9 about.
No. But I wouldn't even know who a broadcaster in Australia would. But that's the thing. That's where you might uncover a really talented
And
person
just take it to the next level.
that does take it to the next level. And you still keep in Crompo and Scaife. They shift into the expert role, and maybe someone goes in and helps production. Because it was one of those weekends where it was so exciting, so much happened, but it was hard to follow. That's the only place you got to give them a bit of breathing room. Is it wasn't easy.
Do you know how to shit race in race 12, mate? Chaz.
Oh, was it just isolated to 12?
No, but he was 9. Really hard weekend for Walkinshaw because even
Can I have
Woody,
a drink, please, sir?
even Woody was 16th. What do you want, cider?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, copy. There you go, mate.
Thanks, mate. Go on, mate. So Chaz, I mean, he's leading the Who Forgot, surely.
Yeah, well, I just think, and it's obviously, as I say, Woody had a shit one too in that race. He was 16th, so it's obviously just not WIU's track, to be honest.
Woody had an issue. You're talking about qualifying or the race?
No, that was a race, man.
I think Woody had a couple of issues, though. It wasn't like, I mean, he actually turned someone as well, which was what we posted on our socials.
Yeah.
T-bone someone.
Him and Aaron Cameron. Was that him and Cameron going at it into two? We put on the...
It was.
Yeah.
Yep. So, yeah, I'm not sure what happened to Chaz on the weekend. And even he said, like, he just doesn't... He was kind of unsure why it wasn't clicking for him, and he just didn't have any speed. I was expecting when they'd come to him after a qualifying session, there'd be a reason. Like, maybe he got traffic or something went wrong.
They're always the most frustrating weekends when you're like, I actually don't know. Car actually feels right, but it's slow. You know, we're like, It's fine if the thing's pushing like a dog or you got no rear or at least you can go, well, it's doing this or I've got no motor. But when it's like, it feels right, we're just nowhere. I don't know. Like, that's the worst.
Even Chaz said maybe it's the young buck just getting up on the wheel and doing a better job like this week. And that's what he said. I'm like, that's a pretty honest appraisal of what you're thinking right then. And it's possible. Like, Woody's doing a very good job at the moment.
Sometimes that shit happens. Sometimes people do a better job.
Can we say, though, when was the last time we saw Walkinshaw run two competitive cars in the same weekend? Serious question.
90s? Early 2000s? Like the Todd Kelly Scaife era, maybe? Like as in two...
In all honesty, yeah.
No, I'm not being it's been a while since I can remember two cars rolling out and then locking out the front row, or maybe like it'd be back tan to Courtney before they turned to a bit of a dog's breakfast. I'd imagine would be the last time I can remember two. Yeah.
It's
VEs, mate. It's VEs, maybe the first VF, maybe.
Yeah.
Like she's a while ago.
I know it's harsh to say, but it was just something I thought about across the weekend because we haven't seen. We've always been going like last year. We're like, when Woody gets his stuff together, Walkinshaw's going to be really strong because then they'll have two drivers. This year, Woody's got his shit together, and now Chaz doesn't. And it's like, why does this shift happen?
But in saying that, the only team really that can always produce two solid cars is Triple Eight.
Tickford, we're sort of seeing more that.
But I'm saying week in, week out.
Yeah.
Like, Tickford, Randall and Cam but like every week, the cars being similar, they sometimes have quite a big variance.
Yeah.
But, if Triple Eight are dog shit, both cars are dog shit.
Yep.
It's rare, and if they're both fast and they're both, like, they're always within a place of each other generally.
Yeah.
Which means they're producing the same stuff across both sides of the garage where you don't see that really anywhere else.
And I see what you mean. It's across a weekend, week in, week out, not just one race. Because someone's actually, Bush Mechanics put in near Tanner and Courtney, Townsville 2013. But, that's your point is that's one weekend.
Yeah, I'm saying consistent.
Townsville, they were strong. Consistently, we don't see it. And it is a brutal assessment.
They're not the only team, though.
But
as I say, I think the only team that has really consistently
is TA.
And I know people go, you guys are it's not. It's just the facts. Go look at the history. Go look at the stat sheets. Like, that's just the reality. They back it up. They talk the walk. So
I mean, I'm 100% biased. While we're watching the race, I'm like, yes, Will pass X, and same as Brock pass X. But when you sit back into the pod and look at competitiveness, you can't not. You're right.
Go ask any driver in pit lane if you could go and race for any team tomorrow and you just got to write on a piece of paper and no one got to know what you said, I reckon 24 out of 24 would probably say T8.
Yeah.
Triple Eight.
Yeah, that answers
and I'm not like, the other teams are amazing, but if you want to win championships and Bathurst and stuff like that, you would be mad on the numbers to not say, I'd like to drive car 1 or car, 87. What number's Brock? 87?
Brock's 88.
88, sorry.
But yeah, even with, I think it was on social, someone messaged us and I had said back to them, they were talking about it being a GM championship and complaining about supercars and parity and everything. And it's like, I honestly think that the unique thing with our sport is the Ford and Chev, they're ran by teams. So it's not Ford and Chev that go to battle for
the product,
for the homologation. And when they do the aero testing, it's not Ford and Chev. It's the teams that represent Ford and Chev that battle it out. And I think, unfortunately, for everyone that's a supporter of whatever car T8 haven't been in, T8's done a better job at getting what they want across the line. I think the last time we saw was really when Penske was pushing the Ford wagon. And that wasn't Ford beat Chev. That was very much Penske beat T8 that year.
And part of it we're seeing now is with what's happening with the Ford engines is because they won't allow that shit to happen. They won't allow you to go and test parity in the wrong areas.
Yeah.
Like they're not going to allow you to go and dyno the cars at the wrong airbox temp.
Yeah.
Like, because both sides are going to have smart enough. I'm not saying that that's what happened, but they're going to push back and say, well, this is where we operate in, so why are we testing at this point?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Like, they would be looking at everything, and this shit wouldn't be happening.
Definitely.
So that's why I think Penske were able to go up against, because they had like for like. And
exactly. And even, Tickford, this whole conversation gets put to bed because Tickford did a video at Bathurst when they announced that Triple Eight was going to Ford. Tickford did a video which was generally just a fuck you to DJR going, thank God we've got Triple Eight as homologation team. We're finally going to have fast cars.
We're going to have parity is what they said.
We're going to have parity. And it was like saying Triple Eight's going to do a better job than DJR. That was the whole premise of the video and they might not have meant it.
That's how it comes across because they were the Ford homologation team.
They're saying, oh, thank God we've finally got a good team that's HT.
They could have pushed back and gone, why are we doing this? Why are we just send everything to America and spend, I've heard figures of $800K or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And absolutely useless because it was all testing for the wrong stuff.
Yeah.
Or in the wrong conditions.
Yeah. Yeah, that's scary.
What do we got for qual, mate, in the race 13?
I'm at the race there. Qualifying. So the format there, again,
mix it up just to keep us guessing.
Well, actually, I quite enjoyed the format across the weekend. And after we went through it in our pre-brief, I didn't think it was too complicated, but Crompo did forget and at the end of Q2 announced Will Brown as pole position and then quickly remembered there's still a top 10 shootout to come. But I think the formats were great across the weekend. The top 10 shootout.
So he didn't listen to our pre-brief.
No, yeah. The top 10 shootout was really good. I was impressed with with Ryan Wood's first sector. It looked like that first sector that he did was difficult for anyone to match, and he jumped up the order and finished second in the shootout. Will Brown, though, snagged the pole. It was pretty close. There was it was just less than a tenth between first and second, but there was 5/10 covering the top 10 in the shootout, which is quite a bit, but the challenge at Tassie...
Is that tyres, mate?
Well, the challenge at Tassie, though, is it could be as well reused, but the tyres are cold, man. You need a second lap, really.
You can't. Yeah, you're right. Yeah,
and that's
such
why
a short lap.
Woody did a really good job in the first sector, nailing it on a cold tyre. But the times we saw, like they did 50s in qualifying and a 51.1.
51.
Sorry, I've just gone to the wrong one. Sorry, what was pole?
51.49. I can see.
So we saw 50s in qualifying and 51.49 was pole for the shootout. But Anton snuck into the top 10 again. Cooper Murray was P9, so that was sort of his best run for the weekend. He was 4th or 5th, I think, in the shootout, but dropped down to 9th just with a lap that wasn't good enough. They didn't look like there was any big mistakes. The surprise for me, maybe not surprise, Golding I thought did a really good job.
Jackson Evans too, again.
Yeah, in the 10 again, and the only BJR car in the 10.
I tell you what, I think when they go to Toyota, I think he should be elevated to number 2 status within BJR is what I think.
Definitely.
My personal opinion. And I think if they can roll out, which I think BJR will, historically when they've gone to a new car, BJR always roll out strong early.
They do, yep.
So I'm excited to see what they do, and I'm actually excited to see if Jackson stays. I mean, the only driver that's so far been confirmed for across the 4 seats at BJR is Andre Heimgartner. Yep. But if they do keep Jackson, which hopefully they do, I think he should be elevated to that second driver status, and I'm excited to see what he can do because he's a great driver.
Yeah.
The stuff he's done in GT cars and for Porsche and everything, and what he's proved on the weekend, when the car's in the window, he'll be there.
Sometimes, and sometimes you need that bit of continuity and a couple of years. Like, it's not an easy championship to come into, especially like you say, he's been doing GT stuff. He's been left foot braking, he's probably still left foot braking. So it's a big shift to go from those types of cars to supercars. So you need the pressure taken off with like a couple year contract. So hopefully he does get renewed soon.
Yeah.
And we see him press on. But BJR do have good cars. I mean, at Tasmania, 2 years in a row to see Forward get a podium in terms of Forward, we don't ever see on the podium. And to do it back-to-back years, and also Macca to lead the race there. They've obviously got good cars, but Jackson led the way on Sunday, which was pretty impressive. But Matty Payne, 11th, dude. I mean, there's no surprise, but he comes through and wins the race. No, we're not giving that away.
Burkett goes from the podium the day before on the late race on Saturday to he was 12th, 13th.
Yeah. Yep.
So Cam Hill was a little bit MIA this weekend. We had big hopes for him.
You did. Like,
I think you put him in as a podium in one of your predictions, mate.
I think so, but I was sort of just expecting MSR to roll on to, because Grand Prix and Taupo I thought were pretty different tracks.
Well, I mean, Percat got a podium, but I just thought, going on so far the year, I would have thought Hill was maybe going to have, because Percat had a bit of a slump, but for whatever reason, we know he's a great driver. But so that was strange to see Hill just kind of it just looked like he never really fired a shot this weekend.
Just didn't fire, 100%. And it switched a bit between them too, because Percat was nowhere at Taupo.
But again, Andre, mate, had a shocker for pace in qual, didn't he?
P19.
I know he goes all right in the race, in race 13. I'm pretty sure he gets up in the 10, but he does. But just for whatever reason, that thing just didn't turn its green on, or just didn't maximise qual. I'm not sure what's going on, where his other teammates did. So that's really bizarre there. I'm sure they'll scratch their heads over that, because as we know, normally Andre's the number one guy at BJR, but he was kind of third, fourth this weekend.
And then James Courtney finished up 21st, but he did say he actually saw Chaz come past him on the warm-up lap, and he thought, well, Chaz is always pretty quick. I'll tag on the back of him for a tow.
Oh, he got stuck.
And Chaz was dog shit. So Chaz qualified 23rd and actually ended up holding up James Courtney.
So Courtney still went fast even though he got stuck.
He went fast. He caught him, and he said he got caught up behind him. So, but Brody Kostecki and Will Davo,
shithouse, yeah.
dude, I don't even know what to say.
24th. I mean,
they're really pouring cash.
Put all their chips on the table, yeah.
And it's not like these things, I don't think they take time. I honestly don't think these things get better. I think once you come in and you make a heap of changes, you see pretty quickly whether you've got it or not.
The hard thing is now it's been long enough where it will start to stress relationships.
Yeah.
Because as you said, there's a massive financial implication that, as I say, they put the chips on the table. They've gone and hired really good people. They've gone and bought the James White chassis. They've gone and done all this stuff. Like Brody was super strong at New Zealand, and this is just a blip. So we might be eating humble pie. Come next round, they might go and absolutely blitz everyone, and I hope they do. But yeah, it would start to get to a point where, they've been DQ'd, they've got shit going on. People start to point fingers and go, well, we're nearly halfway through the year, and fuck you and fuck this, and he's shit, and you're shit. And
and consistency is at a team like that. You would think that they would start okay, like Sydney, they were there or thereabouts, and then you slowly build. But to go to a weekend like this and have, obviously the cars got DQ, but they weren't really anywhere anyway. They struggled for speed all weekend. It's really odd. I don't know. They don't even have consistency on their side where it's like, okay, we've gone from being 10th at round one. We're now 6th. We're 4th and 8th, and we're 3rd.
Got poles in New Zealand.
There's not been a consistent build, I don't think. And this weekend was a bit of a red flag because I just thought this would suit them. The only thing, I guess, that might be a silver lining is the Fords didn't seem that strong on the weekend. It actually did look like a Chev Cup. There was Tickford that were quick.
Ryan Wood was second in that qual.
Yeah, but it was like, I think, what was there, 3 in the top 10?
It definitely wasn't a Ford.
Three in the top 10.
It definitely wasn't Mustang country. That's
whereas
for sure.
we've seen Mustang country at the last at Taupo, and Sydney Motorsport Park was Mustang.
Yeah, country. No, I agree with you. It definitely was. It looked to be more Chev country. I'm surprised because I actually thought, like you did, mate.
So three Fords in the top 10 on Sunday.
Yeah.
I mean, it just. I'm just saying it's the only.
I thought it would suit them too.
On Saturday in qualifying for race 12, there was only 2 Fords in the top 10.
Yeah, well, that's something, doesn't it?
So really, you got to say that the Fords, if you go like 11 down, that's where they are. And so where do they stack up against the other Fords in that? I don't know about race 11. Race 11 qualifying, there was 5 in race 11. So. Yeah. I don't know. But yeah, it didn't look like it was a Ford weekend, and we did pick them to be a lot stronger. I thought this could have been the weekend Brody got his first win, actually.
Well, I think we both, had him for a win or 2 wins over the weekend in my predictions. And it's a big braking track, so it's what you'd call a technical track from a driver's point of view.
Yep.
Guys with really great technique generally go well there, which is why I think Brock he works really hard on that stuff and why he was a cut above the rest. But yeah, I thought Brody and Davo would have gone strong, but unfortunately work out. But the Sunday race 13 race results, I thought it was a great race. We streamed it, mate. So for those listening, if you haven't been on when we sidecast it and stream it and watch along with you, it was good fun. I think we had sort of close to 500 people joined with us, and we were having a couple of tins and sort of talking about the race and watching it together, which was really fun. But Matty Payne won it. Great strategy, great call from Grove. We were sitting here and actually SVG was messaging us going, they can get home on this. Why is no one pitting now? And then within a minute of him saying that,
They started pitting.
Groves dove in. They made the call. They pitted. They were obviously listening to us. Kudos to you.
Yeah.
And then others then followed and started doing it.
It was actually funny because Shane said he did text before anyone had taken the second stop and said,
It was like a minute or so before, and he's
can
gone,
they make it home now?
well, no, he said, I'd be pitting now. And then we were scratching heads going, why? And then we're like,
Well, we were like,
Oh,
actually,
Phil,
fuck, that's a good
you can
point.
make it
You can
home.
Make it.
So he called it all the way from Charlotte, and it turned out to be the winning strategy because that's exactly what got Matty Payne the win. Brock was obviously super fast, got to his rear bar. They sort of crossed the line. Brock was sort of had overlap, like it was another lap, and Matt Payne was a shot duck, and Brock had it. But really, kudos to Groves taking the risk and Matty for doing the job and bringing it home.
Yeah.
Because he was 11th.
Well, he had, I think I might have made that note there. Matty Payne's qualifying for the weekend was last in the first race, dead last. 12th and 11th. That was it. That was his best.
So it's a very average weekend for a race winner.
Dude, to go from Taupo, he won 2 of the 3 races, won the JR Trophy. He's been in every bloody interview since, because they've done such a good job. And then to go, and it's funny, I picked him for my Who Forgot. Before the weekend, we did the predictions, and I actually went, for whatever reason, like looking at last year, and this is
You had a crystal ball, did you?
Well, it's fucking funny. It's just last year. It is so characteristic of every team. Darwin, I bet you, Anton could potentially win. Let's call it Anton will win Darwin.
Or Dave.
Or Dave.
A Team 18 car will be in the top
There are
3.
like 3 podiums from 6 races in Darwin. It's like that. For whatever reason, teams have these strong tracks and weak tracks, and it's obviously their setup philosophy and everything, and you can almost go back to last year's results and go, who's going to do well? Like, okay, another one was after Sydney where Chaz last year dominated, went to the Grand Prix, struggled. So we went, I reckon after Waters dominating, he's going to struggle at the Grand Prix. He qualified like 15th, 16th, 17th. It was nowhere. And it is always funny because the drivers are the first to get, he should retire. He should, he's no good. He's lost it. Chaz Mostert. I mean, if you were a fan that watched this weekend, you'd be like, who? Sorry, who's that guy? Like, he was the worst. He was the guy who was a lap down blocking the leaders and got punted out of the way because he's a hazard. Like, if that was Forward would be getting beat up by the fans right now.
Oh,
in the
my
comment
God,
section.
he would be,
It would be unbelievable. And now you've got a guy who is meant to be like potentially a champion as a back marker, a lap down, not getting out of the way of the leaders, like driving like a Billy. So the cars make such a big difference. It drives me nuts as a fan, as a driver.
Yeah, but that's
it's even worse.
And that's why Who Remembered Who Forgot was born.
Yeah.
That's a prime example. You got a guy like Chaz getting punted out of the way because he's a lap down.
Yeah.
And you're like, that is the textbook definition of why Who Remembered Who Forgot was started for shit like that. That guy didn't forget how to drive, mate.
You do not just forget.
Like, fucking hell.
It was funny. I got asked only yesterday. I was at lunch with someone and he said, God, I hadn't seen him since well before Sandown last year. And he said, congrats on Sandown. It's really good to see. You must have been stoked. And I said, I actually wasn't, like I was really happy, of course, you win. But it was funny because driving a good car was like, that's what the other guys
You'd almost be pissed off because you're like, why didn't I have this for my career?
Yeah, it was like, that's what the other guys have had. And that's what, like Matty Payne, for instance, the last weekend, luckily he got the win because he didn't really have the speed for it. But, you rock up to Tassie, you'd be feeling like a dog with 2 dicks going, I've just won the last round, 2 or 3 races, and then you qualify dead last, legitimately dead last on speed. It'd be like, the fuck, why am I... And the organic spacer, as you call it, is one of the best. That is...
because...
Drives me nuts.
Like, the fastest laps between Matty Payne and Brock Feeney was almost a second. It was 9/10.
On a 50-second lap. In
car speed. Around that, Johnny's huge. Like, 9/10 around there would be like 3 seconds at Bathurst.
Yeah.
Like because of the size of it and everything. So, wild. But, yeah, so Matty Payne won it. That was awesome. Brock nearly second. Will Brown third. Good for Will to get some chocolates because he had a bit of a rough one. I wanted to jump in there because I watched during qualifying, there was like 20 minutes where the track was delayed because of the software issue or the hardware issue with the timing. Right.
And Will was one of the only guys looking at the data and I appreciated that because I was like, wow, there's the guy who won the championship last year and he's still looking for every 1%er, and there was drivers that were having a nap or chilling, just, hanging out, waiting to go. There's nothing you can do in those moments.
Yeah.
Like you're literally doing nothing. But Will sat there for the whole time and looked at data, and I know what he's like because it's funny, like last year doing over 140 driver changes we did in practice before Sandown, And I've never done that before. Like, he does not leave any stone unturned. And when there was the 25 minutes, he probably looked at this break as an opportunity
to learn, yeah.
To learn. Like, what is Brock doing? And he actually said to Larko, he goes, I'm just trying to find out why my teammate's smoking me so much.
But you would.
And he polled it.
Yeah, and you wouldn't. That's like if your teammate has it over, the last person you want to beat is your teammate.
Yep.
Like,
yeah, exactly.
It sounds stupid, but it's true because you're like, they're in the same gear.
Yep.
And so if they're even half a tenth, you're like, what am I going wrong? Like,
Exactly.
I need to find this because this is not on. So
that was what was good, I thought, about that. And that's why I think he was an honourable mention in qualifying, which is wild to think that
for putting in the effort.
Last year's champion and the guy who was leading the championship gets an honourable mention for a pole. But I think he was on the back foot. Like you said, he probably wasn't that quick compared to Brock. And then he really turned it on and finished third in the race. But that sounds like a bad result. I don't think it was. I actually think that's a recovery.
That's a good recovery. And again, Will's done what he's done last year and so far this year. When the chips are down or he's not having a great day, he can still somehow just find his way on the podium or grab a fourth or, bank some points. So I know he lost the lead of the championship this weekend, but it could have potentially been worse. Like Tassie is a nightmare. When you're buried in the pack, you can get shunted so easily. So the fact that he got through unscathed, grabbed a podium in the last race, again, he obviously dug deep in the races, did his work, did his job. Honourable mention to Premier too, because they had James Golding and Richie Stanaway 4th and 5th. So Jimmy was 4th, Richie was 5th. Great job from those guys because they've struggled a little bit for, again, consistency.
Yep.
They've had the flashes of pace over the years or over this year. But I think that was a good one. Just to roll some confidence into the next round, they head to Perth. Perth will be interesting. I mean, not to dive too far ahead, but generally Triple Eight are quite strong. It's a big tyre deg track. So the cars and teams that are sold on the tyre deg will generally go well. So I think...
Where's that? Where are they, sorry?
Perth.
Is it Perth next?
That's what they said in the driver's briefing. In the, the press conference.
I might have got that wrong. For some reason, I thought Darwin, but...
Nah, I think it's Perth before Darwin. They go Perth, then Darwin.
You know what? Let's bring up the upcoming calendar because I think you're right.
Let's do that.
I've definitely jumped too far ahead, but you are right. So for those listening, we've got, I think it's a 20-odd day wait, but 6th of June to the 8th of June, Perth.
Yeah, so and then they go, straight from Perth to Darwin. They
20th of June is Darwin. Yeah. And then Townsville. So they're 3 really great events, I think. So to go Perth, Darwin, Townsville is unreal. And you're racing in Darwin.
Yeah, I'll be up,
mate.
I'll be up there. So that'll be fun.
I might go up for a beverage and
you should just come up and just stay with us, mate.
That could be let's do that. And maybe I might reach out to some pubs up there because I do want to do a live show.
Could you imagine Sunday night at like Ducks Nuts or something up there if we could manage to get on them?
Unreal. I reckon let's do a live show up there and I'll come up for that one.
But yeah, there was some good honourable mentions there. Reynolds, a little bit of sugar for Reynolds in the tradie entry.
He did say he had no car speed and felt like he got there on luck. He was very honest about that.
Well, he said strategy. So...
Sorry, strategy.
Yeah, which is, I guess, luck in some ways. But, yeah, so he... Honest appraisal from Davey. He said, I got there on strategy because my car was no good. So at least he's being honest, telling it out how it is. And it obviously wasn't because where was Anton? Anton was... 20th, but he got shunted off, didn't he?
He got shunted off at turn 1. So I guess you look back at qualifying. Anton had just snuck into the shootout and qualified 10th.
Right. And where was Dave, mate? Have you got that up there?
Reynolds was 12th.
Okay. So they were close for pace, but nice to see Davey get he wouldn't be wrapped with 6, but it was better than 12th.
Exactly.
All right.
Quick talking points.
What have we got, mate?
Randall needs to be more aggressive. Good car speed. Doing a great job in his one-lap speed as well. But I think he needs to be more aggressive when he's defending.
Yep. Yeah, no, I agree.
I think he could have held up even on the last race. He could have definitely held up Brock more. Yeah. I think he is a driver that he is a fantastic wingman to Cam, and also I think he's constantly playing the points game. I don't know that he's a racer looking for wins. Like I think even that
he's not in the moment. He's thinking too far ahead.
I think he would have thought in that last race that Brock was on fresh tyres. Let's just take the points, move on to the next one. But I do think he could have defended a little bit harder. And then even on Will early in that race. I think we saw on Saturday, Chaz was like a dog with a bone holding back Will, and he did an amazing job. But then Sunday, Randall is like, he's almost the guy, I think, on the leaderboard that if you qualify behind him, he's a gimme. It looks like it's that point. So I'd just say get your elbows out a bit more and fight for your position. Saturday, I was really surprised by the end of Saturday that Brock had already taken 78 points out of Will. So we said that third was a good recovery. It's going to be interesting in Perth that he's got to put the pressure on Will. I think he's got to turn the tables a little bit. Like he needs to. Qualifying was good on Sunday, but he's going to definitely have to do a good job to out qualify Brock because he seems like he's always ticking the boxes in quali at the moment. And then he's racing aggressive too. Like I think he's racing hard. And
Actually, that's one thing I noted.
Sunday,
Brock's though this weekend, I was like, holy shit, Brock's like he's aggressive.
Yeah, he's racing hard, man.
I rate it. Well, I don't reckon in the past I would have put Brock in that aggressive racer category, but after this weekend, I was like, get it, son. Like that was good. So,
yep.
I rated seeing that for sure. Yeah, I agree. He
bold strategies. We're far enough into the season now. Who are you calling for the champion at the end of the year? Who do you think's racing like he?
I'm going to say because it's obviously the finals and it's a little bit different to a normal championship. So where they are currently doesn't really matter on points. But can I pick two or you want me to pick one?
No, one.
Just one?
We're not half-baked here, mate.
I'm going to go on outside Smokey. And it's
anyone in the fans too, in the comment section here, in a Patreon or in our YouTube, let us know. Yeah. We're a long way out here. This is a big pick.
This is big. And I'm going to throw, it's harsh to call it a Smokey. It's not really a Smokey because they're a top team, top driver. I'm going to say Waters.
Okay.
I think Waters is going to win the I know how good he is at Adelaide. And all the guys are going to be fighting for a grade at Adelaide, but I just...
No, you don't need to...
No, but I'm just saying...
They all know you don't need to worry about upsetting anyone.
I don't, mate. I'm Switzerland. We know I sit on the fence.
I might even lose my drive at Bathurst with mine.
But no, I just think Cam, I think it's his year. I think it's time for him to... I just think it's going to happen. I don't know why, but that's just my feeling.
Yep.
There's no logic behind it at all.
OLEX. This is a big call, but they've put in our chat, I don't think Chaz will even make the final four with how he's driving at the moment.
It's not a massive call at the moment.
I reckon this is the year that teams like Walkinshaw should have been or should be thinking, because I know Will last year was like, fuck, I wish there was just a couple of years at least of this consistency winning championships and he obviously won a lot of races, podiumed every weekend. But this year, a bit of a smoky. If you're in the top four at the final round, you could win and at a place like Adelaide, Waters is a great pick because he's always fast. Yeah. Mostert is a gun there as well. Yep. Brock's strong there. And so I'm like, those final
Payne's
four.
Strong there?
That he won his first, as a rookie, he won the Adelaide 500. So it is one of those years that you would be thinking, fuck me, get your shit together. We need to be in the final four just because at Adelaide there's a few drivers that can win.
Let's not forget too, and whether it's making a difference, I don't know. I'm going to speculate here as we always do. They're obviously trying to build the Toyota homologation team at the moment too. Are they distracted? Is there other shit?
Who's that? Sorry, I was reading
Walkinshaw. Like,
is that taking them off the ball?
If we're saying why are WAU having these inconsistencies, is it because there's a little bit of distraction in the background?
But
maybe
then
not.
Why is Woody so fast? Like that's the thing. The inconsistency is we just don't ever see Walkinshaw produce two fast cars. And I have no idea why.
Well, so why is it swap from Chaz's car being the fast car to now Woody's? What's happened there?
Dude, even when I was there, it'd be like, fuck, one weekend.
I remember.
I'm like, oh, I'm doing great. Why is JC 17th? And then the next weekend I'm going, oh, I fucking suck. I'm 17th. JC's third. Like, it would just be this. I don't get it. Darwin's going to be tough for them. When we get to Darwin, that'll be, I reckon we will see.
Or motors too, mate. And if this temp thing's a drama, like in the high temps.
Well, that's where it should help Ford.
Yeah.
When they get to Darwin.
But if there is a discrepancy at a higher temp, then Darwin's going to be a nightmare for someone.
Yeah, yep.
My
pick is actually Brock. I actually said it to Shannon 2 days ago.
I was gonna go either.
I feel
my two was Waters and Brock. Yeah.
I mean, Will, don't take it personally, mate. You won the championship last year.
Yeah, you can't win them all, brother.
And you won the 500. You won the weekend. But I just feel like Brock is on a mission. I don't know. I mean, even Shane said he really rated Brock, and I don't know. But the only question mark I think that puts on it out of the two Red Bull guys, because obviously I'm very biased, I want to see one of those two win. The way that Will rose to the occasion for qualifying today, it's not going to be easy.
Well,
but then in the race, Brock was so aggressive.
But, yeah, he also had a lot of car. Yeah, I don't know.
He did have a lot of car speed.
It's going to be interesting to watch. Brendan Ross said, WU have hired extras to cover the Toyota build. That's fine. They might have extra hands, but there's still the brains that are on these cars that are having to think about that shit.
And the best brains.
Extra meetings and all that stuff. It's still going to be a distraction.
We think Carl Foe is going to be their chief guy, right, at Walkinshaw. He's the best of the best that they've got. He for sure is going to be focusing on. Yeah. So even if you've employed more people to take on the Toyota program, your best of your best will be on the Toyota program because that's your future.
That's right.
So I would imagine they're going to focus on that. And the shit thing is when you talk about this, it's like we're going to upset someone at Walkinshaw. But it unfortunately it's just the facts. Like there's two cars that are inconsistent. We do want to see both of them, but there's definitely going to be a focus on Toyota next year, you would imagine.
It's easy. Just think of it this way. If you have your toy here that you've played with for a couple of years and you've got your fresh one over here, which one are you going to spend more time playing with?
Oh, definitely, yeah.
You're going to play with your new toy. And that's the easiest way to think of it. They're going to be thinking, as you said, mate, they've only got, 6 months left of the current thing?
Yep.
So they're like, well, things aren't going great. Let's just make sure we hit the ground running with this bad boy.
Yeah.
And make it as quick as we can.
Could you imagine, here's a smoky, Ryan Wood wins the championship in Adelaide. Imagine if he has Chaz's pace that Chaz had at Adelaide in the past and makes it to the Final Four because he's warming up, dude. He's 7th in the championship right now.
I mean, we're throwing big things out.
Fuck, it'd be cool, though. Like, that would be... I mean, that's nearly like...
I would love someone that is not what everyone's thinking. So
that's why, like, a Woody would be really cool.
And that's why I'm agreeing with you.
And he seems to be just sort of getting better. He's still making the odd mistake, but he's getting better and better. His attitude's good. He's a racer.
He's got time. He's aggressive. Yep, I get it. Like, I would love nothing more for the first year of the finals for what they're doing.
That there is a left-of-field winner.
For there to be a real smoky.
Like, imagine Woody just makes it through to, like, the Final Four. He's 4th. And he wins the thing. That's exactly that's what you want to happen in the final series.
You see that in NASCAR though too, with they do the finals and the playoffs and all that stuff. It's not always your guys that are super consistent across the year, like your Hamlins and stuff that win the championship.
Yeah,
you know, it is sometimes your
last year Logano, I think, won one race in the regular season, which got him in the playoffs, and then he won the final. And
so like there's every chance that it will be a smoky potentially.
Yeah. Ole X, do you think BJR is more a paper signing for Toyota? There is no way that they are helping WAU with the design. And if we are honest, most of the drivers are 20 plus every week anyway. So, so you're saying that most of the drivers at BJR are in the 20s, position-wise.
I get what he's saying. I kind of disagree, mate. I think they've got some really good people, as in engineering and stuff and staff at BJR. Yep. I would imagine that'd be helping with ideas. I'm sure WA are controlling most of it because this has been happening for a while. So things are already half built, I would imagine, or it needs to be. It has to be a long way down the design chain. So, I don't know. Like, I'm sure Walkinshaw are controlling it, but I think, as I said, BJ always roll out strong when it's a new car, and I reckon they'll surprise people.
I agree.
And they're obviously going to be a little bit better funded because they've got backing now from a manufacturer, so they can then... Really, I think it's going to be good. Yeah,
I think BJR is a really good get for Toyota. The one thing I think is a great positive for our sport is Toyota is genuinely investing money into the sport. The teams they're selecting, they're putting money behind them.
Yeah, correct.
So I know
they're not just giving them a headlight and a grill. They're actually giving them some dough to go, hey, let's make sure we win some races here.
Yeah, yep. And it's not just the honour of running their logo on the front. They're putting their what do you say, money where their mouth is, and they're investing in these teams. So hopefully for BJR, they have a good run. That was really, actually, forward turning Brody. What do you think about that incident, mate? Sound check.
We only saw what was on telecast from what I could see, just like interlocking wheels, which we spoke about over 12 months ago. It's somehow a new topic though.
It's never been discussed before. And
everyone else has brought it up first, but to me, that's what it looked like. I know Bryce got a PLP for it. From what I could see, that's what it looked like, just interlocking wheels. No malice in it, but, I mean, whether they could see other shit that we couldn't, the footage only give us a front-on angle, so there's no in-car or anything, which they should have done. Give us the in-car so we can make an educated decision.
Well, they had 45 minutes under safety car to find the replays.
How long was that safety car? What was the go with that?
Mate, what the fuck?
All right, were they trying to make sure everyone got on the same strategy?
Idea.
Like, that to me looked like someone, not that this will happen, but it looked like, were they just trying to let everyone get on the strategy because someone else had, like, what was going on? That went for 2 laps too long, I thought.
I don't know.
3 laps.
Like, I honestly don't understand that because, it went for 2 laps too long and it gave a lot of people the opportunity to jump on the two-stop strategy. But the incident itself with forward, I think it was just wheel locking. I'd love to. I might text Beardo after this one and find out a bit more info on why the incident was deemed to be, because it was a drive-through. Like, it was a big penalty. Like, we haven't seen many PLPs this year.
And that's where, like, we said, was it because it was outcome based? Because, they were starting to go down that path, and because it went in the fence, damaged the car. Was that why? Or was there actually some malice in it, or something that Bryce did wrong?
Yeah, did Beardo see something in the onboard or the drone shot they love?
What we'll need to do, though, is we'll need to get both sides of the story.
Yeah. I've heard you've been upsetting everyone.
Because otherwise we get in trouble.
Yeah, I've heard you've upset a few people.
Apparently we don't do our due diligence, so...
Yeah. Well, you don't.
No, that's right. You had the conversation, mate.
Yeah, me drunk in Taupo having the conversation doesn't really count.
No, so...
Look, if we upset anyone, disclaimer on the show is that it's Elliot's opinion, not mine.
And just, come have a chat.
But, all right, well, I think that's all the talking points, mate. I think it's time to get in the fan memos. But what I might do is, because this one's been quite a long pod anyway, this next one, let's just do the fan memos and call it episode 52, and we'll split these two so that Paulie
getting the numbers, I like it.
Well, it gets us close to that 100. We know how important that is for Elliot. He said 100 fucking long time ago. That ain't happening. We're in May. We're in May, and
I thought you were going to do more work.
Elliot's partner is like, "Why did you say 100, Elliot? I never see you anymore." But let's call it there. We appreciate everyone's support. We're going to wrap this podcast up, and that is the debrief from our perspective. And now we're going to roll into the next episode, which we'll turn around, edit that, and get it out for everyone, which will be the fan memo, which is everyone else's opinion on the event and how it went across the weekend.
Chazzy, by the fans, for the fans.
I reckon. Let's do it, mate.
Copy.